Hi and welcome to Science. I thought it'd be nice to share an FAQ with parents on some of the most common strategies we have in science, and so I put all of these in this little video clip. People often criticise me for speaking too fast, so you can always go into YouTube settings and click a slower video speed if I speak too quickly, but I'll try and make it nice and clear. So one of the first questions we get from parents is about the difference between triple and then combined science, and also about the tier of entry and when that will happen. So for the triple and combined science route, students on set 1 at the moment are heading for the triple route, and the exams will involve more of the biology, more of the chemistry and more of the physics. Secondly, we'll make our tier of entry decisions, and they will happen based on the mock results in December and March, and we'll keep refining that process, and we're trying to make sure we get the best judgment by your child. It's not that the exam they're sitting in this December will be the final tier they'll sit, and so we use that information to make the best possible judgment. Secondly, we're happy to announce we have created a parent portal on our website, and I'll show you that in a little bit, but there's lots of information there that will help you support your child at home. In your report, you might have found that there's some W and K concern codes, and so I'm going to show you how we think you can address those and how you might support your child at home. Obviously, we're doing lots in class as well, but it always helps that we're speaking from the same page. So for a W concern code, it's about risk and ability, and actually this applies to all students. I'm just going to move my face out of the way so you can see the writing. So the question, as an example I've given here, it says describe how you test for sample food to show it contains protein. On the left, and it might be worth pausing the video for a second to read it, is a typical student answer that we get. And this has got a weak answer because it doesn't actually have a lot of information in it, but has filled the space of the question. A much stronger answer would be one like this. And for this one, a student has really tuned into what the keywords are. They've mentioned the idea of Biuret solution. They've mentioned that protein is present and it's going to change colour, and they've mentioned safety goals. In fact, what they've done is they've addressed all the key aspects of the question. They've written a lot less, they've written bulleted sentences, and they've made sure they've got keywords in each sentence. And that is a really high level answer. And that's what we're trying to move students to, from this weaker answer where there's only really one correct point, to a much stronger answer where there's several correct points. The answer on the left as well, again, it's low level because it gives sort of vagaries. It says there's going to be a colour change, and not tell me what the colour change is. It says work safely, not tell me what you actually might do. So always looking for students to write in bulleted sentences, and this is a strategy we'd use in science, and I'm only speaking on behalf of science, and it is well recommended by examiners, so please don't think students will lose marks on, say, quality written communication. It is still fully marked, can still achieve full marks. A second area where students struggle is the idea of recall, and you might have seen the K concern code, but once again recall applies to all students, and we have several strategies to help students develop recall. A large part of science is very fact heavy, which then applies to different situations. So one way that you might develop recall is the app Tasame. We've advertised this recently, and you can purchase this any time through the year. Sooner is better. You might have bought a purchase last year, and that's a 1-year subscription, so it needs to be renewed for this year. The accounts are still active, but they will be phased out if the renewal is not taking place. Tasame works by focusing exam questions, on the students' areas of weakness, and it actually learns what a student's strong at and what they're weak at, and keeps presenting those weakest answers. When they eventually get the particular answer right 3 times, at that point that question goes away and is replaced by another one, and over time their knowledge expands. One criticism we get from students is that they feel it doesn't learn anything or teach them anything from the software. And that's in partly true, but it's in part an understanding of how it actually works. They are learning, they're learning this massive volume of facts, just like you might learn in times tables by just going over them again and again and again so you know them, rather than having to work it out each time. And by building that baseline recall up, we can then help them tackle more challenging questions. So there's lots of value in it, and students have been very successful, have often used Tasame well. There are other strategies, and it's worth recognising how students learn. And there's this idea of some forgetting curve, and essentially after learning some facts we always forget it a few days later, and each time we revisit it we deepen our knowledge. I often joke that the only reason I remember the things I teach is because I reteach it each year again and again and again, and it sticks. And this is what we need to encourage students to do. So how do we get them to do that? Well, one way is to use flashcards, and we've advertised one brand's flashcards that we can get a discount on for you if you wish to purchase them, but students might also make their own. Flashcards are good when done well, but can be done really badly, and I'll show you some bad examples in a second. The way to use a flashcard is to pick up a flashcard, look at the title, see what you can remember that's on the back of that flashcard, and if you can do it, it goes in a can do pile, and if you can't do it, it goes in a can't do pile, and you keep working through the ones you can't do. So purchase flashcards can be good, especially those who perhaps are going to take a little bit longer to write everything out. In terms of detailed revision guides, this is an example for one of my students, and this will be a really good example because this student has picked out something they need to know using second law. They've really emphasised the formula, and that's the relevant part to this particular aspect of science. And then, as well as other information, they've got diagrams and graphs that also help them reinforce the knowledge, and they've got keywords in bold in different colours to help them all jump out. So when they go back to this document, it'll be a useful quick revision tool because they can quickly tune into the key information. Contrast that with one that, again, we often see when flashcards are done badly. This student has put flashcards that are very much based on single word answers. And that's what TASME does, but TASME has thousands of questions. And there's no way a student's going to work through thousands of questions and produce that many flashcards and then still use them effectively. There are better ways. So please encourage students not to write flashcards in this format with a very narrow question and a very narrow answer. We're looking for flashcards that have detail, such as this. And they can be a flashcard, a poster, or a mind map. In terms of revision, it's often challenging to set a revision program up, and there's lots of different advice on the internet about how to do it. So we keep it simple. We ask students to map out what they need to know, and we have a document called PLC. But then we ask them to revise it and use those methods I've shown previously. And then we ask them to test it, and we've provided lots of resources to help them do that. So we've set up our own website, sort of a low-tech website, but lots of key information on it called Exam Bank. And that's accessible through the short code tiny.cc/EB2. And it's a website children should be familiar with. Within each area, we've got our parent portal with lots of information down there about how to access and use our resources. And then our online digital book as well, should students wish to use this. It's the same one we have in the class. And then how to access that in case I've got a username. Within GCSE Science, we've organised everything into Paper 1 and Paper 2. Paper 1 is the exams will be sitting at Christmas, and Paper 2, the exams will sit in March. All subjects are laid out the same, but within any one subject, we've got sections on all the required practicals, and we've put information on these, which includes video clips, courtesy of another school. We've put in packs mobile-friendly exam questions, and we've put in links to virtual practicals so students can reinforce what they've done in class and revisit them, and some quick recall information. Secondly, within any one subject area, we've also put sort of focus packs of exam questions, not just biology, not just a whole topic, but subtopics. So if a student was struggling with cell structure, they could click that set of exam questions, and it will take them through, again, this mobile-friendly website to practice questions that then have the mark schemes, and even examiners' comments, which are particularly useful to read as well, to give you some ideas about where students typically make mistakes. And they can do those and self-mark those very easily. Finally, we've put some other general resources on the website as well, and these are at the bottom of the page. So there's links to our mind maps and flashcards so that you can access these and print these at home, or we do have some supplies in the school that we've printed, and we just charge the printing costs for those. And then when we review exam, we use a aspects of the website called 10 Mark Challenge, and that helps students to look to see how they might gain 10 more marks and potentially lift them a grade. And the PLC is a document, a checklist, essentially, of all the information they need to know. And if they've lost it, they have been given one, but if they've lost it, there are links to them here. Just pick whether it's triple or combined. And then within the PLC, there's just lots of statements that show all the things the child needs to know. And all we ask is that as they work through them, they spend a few moments before each revision session going down the list, just checking what it is they actually need to know and deciding on perhaps a red, amber, green basis how well they know it. And what it does, it leads students to focus on their weakest areas. So they might think, well, I'm not very good at cell structure, but actually it might be that they don't know anything about how bacteria reproduce. And so that would be the area they would tune into first of all. So that concludes our little overview. By all means, I'm always on email to get in touch if you've got any particular questions or concerns, but I hope a little bit of a snapshot there of some of the things we were offering students might let you help them more effectively at home. Thank you very much.